Hey, this is Open Udrin coming to you live from Oakland, California on a beautiful spring day. We're all in more or less quarantine. And anybody out there? Nope, there's nobody out there yet. It's kind of a beautiful day to expect people to be inside watching these live streams. But then I'm going to open by, while the crowd is gathering, or the non-crowd is gathering, I'm going to open by saying my little prayers to my lineage lamas, which I usually do off screen, but what the heck. I'm going to do it in English. From the skillful awareness holder of the past, known as Nuden Dorje, to the future one gone to bliss, Venerable Mopataye, present region of the lotus-born Drup and Lotsawa, we supplicate you, Jidra Yeshe Dorje. And in the Dharma Dhatu Palace Akanishta, the essence of the Buddhas of the threefold times, who directly shows my mind is Dharmakaya, O Root Guru, at your feet I pray. Well, look what happened. We got a couple of people saying hi. Interesting. They're showing, I see your messages, so thank you for letting me know in the message box, because it doesn't always show up on my screen about how many people I have on. Hey, Rob, and whoever your body, my temple is. Awesome. Nice to meet you. So today we're moving on from a topic that we started last week. Usually I just we're basically augmenting our meditation here. And usually I'm just have one subject. Oh, thank you. You've been watching my videos. So nice to hear from somebody who is. I see people do that. Let me pull you up on the screen here. This is something I learned to do. Nice, really appreciate the feedback. I don't expect a lot of people to watch my little videos, but when they do and you like them and they're helpful, it's really inspiring to me. So thank you. So we started on talking about Sera Khandro, and maybe you saw that last week or saw it during the week. And Sera Khandro just touches my heart a lot, and it's kind of natural. She is one of two major female figures in my Vajrayana Tibetan Buddhist lineage. Not that I'm a lineage holder per se, but I've practiced extensively in the Dujum Tersar tradition, so a certain sublineage of the Nyingma tradition of Tibetan Buddhism. And in all religions, female figures of high standing are hard to find. And here we have a fully qualified, born holy person, we might say in English, from day one, pretty much. And we're going to go through this. She was had really been quite enlightened. Oh, good. Oh, wonderful. Okay. Yeah, Your Body, My Temple says that they already watched this, and she's part of the Tersar. Is one of the ways of saying shortening Dujum Tersar. Sometimes people shorten other Terma traditions that way. Wonderful. So I'm not trying to give an exhausted. I could sit in here and because everybody loves Sera Khandro. I could sit here and read from her book. Love and Liberation was extracted from a doctoral dissertation from a wonderful woman at Northwestern University now, and also associated with Chatswan Pache, Sarah Jacoby. And it's pretty much her life story, although we haven't got her actual, as far as I know yet, the full-length biography is not out, unexpurgated. But I think maybe most of it's in there, and it's a very wonderful book. There's a lot of articles and books and so on. So what we're trying to do here, and it's interesting to me, I started down this track a few weeks ago of using these great figures to enliven our meditation. And I was just watching, and Rob, maybe you were too, Organ Choang this weekend. Organ Choang Rinpoche is up in Marin. I'm very fond of his teachings. And he said shamatha meditation, this calm, abiding, or pacifying meditation, is not much use right now in this situation that we find ourselves in. And he chose to read a devotional prayer to Yeshe Tsogyal, the great sort of mother figure in Tibetan Buddhism. And he obviously has a lot of devotion to her. And Sera Khandro is an emanation of Yeshe Tsogyal. Virtually all the female recognized emanations or tulkus are seen as emanations of Yeshe Tsogyal, Machi Glabdrin, or both. In this case, Yeshe Tsogyal. And so, anyway, the point is to merge our minds with the Dakini. So I think what we'll do then, you guys, might as well play that little 2-minute video again. What do you say? And it's reading of part of the Guru Yoga that she found or wrote down for her followers. And Guru Yoga means this: merging our mind, having an enlightened or fully awakened being, having a connection there, and then imagining merging our mind. And where is our mind? Is it up here? Is it down here? That's a really good question. So it's one to personally explore. But they generally have lights coming from the forehead to the forehead, the throat to the throat, the heart to the heart, and then maybe all three together, and then a unifying beam of light. And light signifies immateriality. So, but we don't need to get into technicalities. Guru Yoga on YouTube. Oh, yeah. You know, just speaking of the, I forgot to turn my cell phone off. Just speaking of technology, I am, maybe I'll get it right today, maybe I won't, but I'm taking a 2-day workshop on this app that I'm using now. It's very fancy, and you can supposed to be able to click, 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 and bring stuff up and have it work. So I'm going to be really professional next week. Yeah, right. Okay, so let's try to watch that video again, see what happens. And try to, let them sit there. I'm going to bring the triangle sound effect over here where my right hand is to stop us. So just go right in from listening to the Guru Yoga being recited, the devotional text, and then imagine she dissolves into light and dissolves into you. And then you dissolve, and you just rest there. You're poised in a state of what? We're inexpressible state. That's not exactly, maybe it's what we call meditation. Is it meditation? Is it non-meditation? Poised there in the way things actually are. Your actual nature is identical. She just blossomed her realization. All the temporary veils that she had to enlightenment were tossed off, in her case in a previous lifetime, and she was blazing with presence, luminosity, all these metaphorical words that we use to communicate. An unobstructed state. Okay, here we go. Let's see if it works. The practice of Guru Yoga. In front of me, in the sky above, upon the welcoming flower of my heart's devotion, is an emanation of Mother Yeshe Tsogyal. manifesting as Sukhavajra, the embodiment of every refuge. Without ever separating, may you always be with me. Blessing my body, speech, and mind as the three Vajras. K. Mother Wisdom Dakini, please hear me. The unmistaken meaning of the great perfection, the essence of all phenomena, is the key point of clear light wisdom awareness, so that I not become sullied by stains of delusion. Please bless me to be liberated right now in the great, unborn, primordially pure ground, inseparable with your wisdom mind protectress. At the moment I receive your empowerment and blessings, may I realize the glorious dual benefit in this life. Kaya Waka Sita Sawa Siddhi Palahom Ah. So I think when I was starting out in Tibetan Buddhism, I expected to have some great dramatic experience when I practiced, you know, amazing things happening, it being really super different than my everyday experience. But what you learn by merging your mind again and again with the masters of this specific tradition is identifying a subtle subtle way of luminous presence. It's not gotten from the Lama out there. It's not like, you know, like a Hindu system or so forth, where they're going to zap you and you're receiving something that you don't have already. It's something you already have. And once you can identify that and you touch base with it again and again, that expands that way of being, for lack of a better word. That non-something something becomes your I'm trying to think of a computer analogy, you know, your operating system. So instead of having some kind of pirate virus taking over your system, which we would call unawareness or lack of knowledge about the way things really are, you're finding your original software, which is inherent in you, because all of us have Buddha nature, this so-called Buddha nature. And Buddha is not, you know, a guy sitting cross-legged. He is, but it's your original nature, clouded over by unawareness, non-recognition of the way things really are. So I just want to keep doing this for a while more. Next week and the following week we'll touch base with Dujim Rinpoche, Jigdal Yeshe Dorje. The nonverbal I am without a self. I am. Oh, that sounds Hindu. Sorry. Try again. Being, anytime you're ascribing something there, it's like a soul. And we're talking about emptiness, which is non-conceptual. And so as soon as you know, so the great master, Longchenpa is the king of of language. He used poetic language. And for the intellectuals, Madhyamaka, middle way philosophy. I'm not intellectual, but people like that. Anyway, nice try though. So, try again. In particular, practice again, because, you know, as soon as we try to characterize things, we're already lost. So, Sera Khandro was born in Lhasa, Tibet, in the big city, which, you know, might have had 30,000 people, and that number pops up in my mind from 1959. Shugat Garba, yes, right on. So I'm the last person I'll talk to you about scholarly understanding of Buddhism. But I know what I don't know. That's a good thing. So I have in front of me her short. I actually couldn't find my copy of Love and Liberation. I think it's an ebook on an old device I don't use anymore. And just as well, because here we have a shorter one she wrote for her disciples that talks about her inner life. So she begins with I won't go through it all, but invoking all Padmasambhava and all the great lineage masters of the past, and inviting them, you know, recognizing that they're always dwelling on the crown of your head, metaphorically. find the faux humility. I missed the faux humility. Oh. Well, we'll find some. Oh, yeah, here, I see it. Okay. So, as clearly predicted in the Vajra prophecies, the Dharmakaya Samantabhadri, the Sambhogakaya Vajravarahi, and the Ramanakaya Ishisugyal of Karchan, as well as her mind emanation, the enlightened speech, Dorje Shiwatsu, are all my illusory emanations from several past lives. Okay, she just allied herself with, Samantabhadri is the feminine form, or, formless, perfectly pure Dharmakaya, it's called, the body of truth, or the perfectly pure, formless form of awakening. And so she's basically saying that she's emerged from that as Yeshe Sogyal, the great mother of Tibetan Buddhism, another disciple of Rinpoche Dorje Tse. And so she set the frame as the highest kind of tulku you could be. And she goes on to say, yet I remain a simple woman with little knowledge in an ordinary form, lacking even minor qualities of hearing, concentration, and meditation. I am tormented constantly by forces of laziness and distraction. For an unworthy person like myself to write a profound tale about the arising of excellent teachings and noble qualities can be likened to sky lotuses. Everyone knows they don't exist. Nevertheless, two close Vajra siblings earnestly requested me to write this, and in order to not disappoint them, I explain here a small factual description of my present birth, which has come about through previously accumulated merit. May the assembly of space-dwelling Dakinis grant me their permission. This is Tibetan standard. And it may be, humility is really part of the Buddhist path, and pride is one of the considered we talk in America about, pride. Pride is good. Everything pride is good. Pride in your football team, pride in gay pride, and this pride and that pride. In Buddhism, it's a bad word. So there's a Tibetan Lama custom of always disparaging yourself, and you can't lie. So these are probably things that she's experienced as in her human form at one point for a moment, a moment of laziness as she exerted herself in Dharma. And she's also connecting with us, isn't she? Because we truly are lazy, distracted. We can't concentrate. Our meditation is short-lived, and we're lucky if we even do it, So she's saying, oh, I'm like you, even though I'm actually a Buddha. Long ago, at the feet of the Buddha, I was known as Utpalma. In the land of India, I was Rolang Derol. In the presence of Padmasambhava, I was Dorje Chiwatso. In Khotan, I was a Nepalese lady, Jangchup Drun. After many rebirths, I was born Kunzong Dekyong Chuni Wangmo in Lhasa to a family of imperial rank who were noble and rich. From the time I was young, I loved the Dharma and yearned to awaken for the sake of all beings. Having seen that the 8 worldly concerns were meaningless. What are the 8 worldly concerns? Anybody know? Rob, if you're still on there. And you're my go-to for Dharma facts. So we don't want to be driven by worldly concerns, right? We want to be driven by Dharma concerns. And so what would be what would be an example of worldly concerns? There you go, pleasure and pain. Good. The one I always remember is fame and, what's it called? Well, good and bad reputation, let's say. So there's these dichotomies, pleasure and pain, gain and loss, Praise and blame. Oh my God, I don't like being blamed at all. Good and bad reputation, pleasure and pain. So it's 4 sets of 2. 8. And so that pretty much encompasses everything that your average human being cares about. I can hear somebody saying, oh, I care about my children. Do you really, though? Or is it transactional? I'm sure you really care about your children, but you know what I mean? One little subtext of having children is you want somebody to take care of you when you're old, right? And you want a friend, and you want a cute baby in the house, and I want this, I want that. And I'm being heretical here, aren't I? By saying these things, but you know, there's self-interest tied up even in our most noble pursuits. Being a parent is a wonderful form of valor, taking on that role. But there's also a transactional element to it, where you're thinking, at least subconsciously thinking about what you're going to get out of it. I think I'm maybe I'm being haughty as a non-child bearer. So anyway, she didn't care about the worldly concerns. She constantly prayed to the 3 jewels. Due to such aspirations, when I turned 8, the Dakinis blessed me, took care of me, and protected me as their own cherished daughter. So you see the parallel from Dujum Lingpa's story that we went through a couple of weeks ago. Noble Tara, appearing as a nun, accepted me as a disciple and gave advice on arousing bodhicitta. And you wonder, did a human nun appear? I mean, come to her house, or was this a vision? I think it was probably a vision. Kungaboom's a great female hero from the past, led me through the door of the Dharma by giving me refuge vows and so on. So clearly that was a vision. So she took refuge, a ceremony that we do when we marking our entry into the Dharma. She, instead of taking refuge with a lama, or you can take refuge in front of a statue of the Buddha and so forth, she took refuge. She had a preceptor who was invisible to other human beings. Though my parents were from a good family with virtuous minds inclined toward Dharma, they were influential in society and had an interest in power. Hence, for some years, I led a life that mingled both spiritual and worldly affairs while managing our subjects and servants. It was my father's command that I marry, and this order brought me great torment and despair. With the resolve to avoid this, I prayed to Padmasambhava, Yeshe Sogyal, and the space-dwelling Dakas and Dakinis, and by the force of those supplications, I was able to overcome this obstacle of samsara. When I was 12, my positive karma blossomed, and Saraha accepted me as his disciple. Saraha was a long ago Indian Mahasiddha, a great accomplished practitioner. So I'm going to skip forward because there's a lot of non-YouTube appropriate material there. Let's come down to so she, like Dujum Lingpa, was guided by these invisible beings, and started talking about the treasure text she was discovering already as a child. Hi, Lori. Welcome. And this is this figure she knew as Kungabooma, who appeared as a nun. She had faith in nuns, which is good. You know, nuns were not that highly regarded all the time in every community in Tibet. I'm not saying everybody was anti-nun, but they didn't have a lot of status. So it's interesting that in her visionary experiences, her Dakinis are nuns, you know, and Dakini means many things, the skygoer, Khandro, going in the sky. But it has many meanings, and each school, Tibetan Buddhism, has a little different take on the Dakini principle. But one of the aspects is a communicative, a messenger coming from enlightenment to the practitioner. So a lot of people have experiences, visions of Dakinis. Have I ever had one? No. Not a single one. So I hope you do, though, or you have already. She sure did. So the reason I bring this up is we're going to do this meditation that this Kungabuma, who she saw as a nun, oh, yeah. Yeah, we're going to read through her meditation instructions for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to do it. Kungabuma said, "Do you know the meaning of emptiness? If you do not realize the meaning of emptiness, even if you are inspired to speak and act virtually, benefits will be insignificant. Tied to everything by the tight bonds of self-cherishing, you will find your life juggling both virtue and vice. The results of this are rebirth in the three higher states, as well as in the lower realms, and revolving among them while remaining within the limits of samsara. Hence, don't be blind to your own wisdom. Knowing what to accept and reject, sustain the practice of this self-abiding wisdom, great secret of mind." I replied to that, she said. Principal among the three Kaya Dakinis, Varahi, Yogini of the magical wisdom dance, I pray to you with irreversible devotion. Please show me the secret of my mind. Bestow your blessings, noble lady, so I can become like you, rather than remain in samsara in this life. The goddess spoke, "Emaho! Listen, pure fortunate one, to this explanation of the oral instructions on the secret of mind. First, rest your body, speech, and mind at ease. The key points of the body are the 7 points of Virachana. The key point of the speech is to stop talking, like the strings of a veena breaking. Don't attempt to speak. Rest your voice and breath in their own places. The key point of mind is to rest in an uncontrived, clear, and empty state. The mind's nature is empty, the Dharmakaya free from elaboration. Its clear light aspect is Sambhogakaya, unobstructed self-luminosity. Its radiation and reabsorption, the appearances of whatever arises, is Nirmanakaya. Awareness, inseparable from the three kayas, is perfected in the ground. For those of sharpest faculties, who can understand self-appearances as awareness, these essential oral instructions are supremely profound. Those of intermediate faculties whose minds rely on objects need the oral instructions to destroy the house of dualistic fixation. Through discerning samsara and enlightenment with body, speech, and mind, and through the mind's arising, abiding, and so forth, you must take my advice, these profound oral instructions, to heart without being lazy like a child or allowing them to dissipate. The view of emptiness is nothing more than this. The awareness of the three kayas is this itself. Great self-originating wisdom is this. Even if you search the entire 3,000-fold universe, you won't find a higher secret of mind than this, because your mind is actually the perfected Buddha. Do not search elsewhere for some other so-called Buddha." Having spoken, she disappeared like a rainbow in the sky. we're going to go on a little bit, but at first I realized there's all this technical language in there, and not sure how far to go with that. But I thought it was a meditation instruction, so it would be appropriate. And I always hear in my head the translators who argue over the translation of these subtle terms for subtle aspects of your mind and the practices, because like we were saying before, it's ineffable is a fancy word for it. You can't, beyond speech, beyond conception, and they're trying to come up with, there's this wonderful language that was as a team of translators assembled by the royalty and funded as Dharma came into Tibet, developed this languaging with wonderful, subtle words, and that we don't have in English because our language wasn't built for that. Doesn't mean we never will. So rest your body, speech, and mind at ease. I'm going back over it. The key points of the body is 7 points of Virachana. That's just sitting practice, Lori. 7 points? Yeah. There's a fancy way of doing it, and but this is a colloquial way of saying sitting straight up. I'm sitting in a chair, and the way your shoulders are is the way your mouth is, the way your head is. Your head is, you're poised in meditation posture, and they're folded. Your legs are folded in the usual fashion. I mean, they would use George Kiltrung or Vajra, so-called lotus posture in the Indian yoga. They call it Vajra posture, George Kiltrung. So, those fancy folded legs that we can't really do. Most of us of a certain age, particularly. And they have their hands resting one on top of the other. But what's important here is that you're sitting in a balanced way. And it has to be comfortable enough for you to be able to sit there for a while, or ideally it will be. So you put your body meditation posture. The key point of speech is to stop talking like the strings of a veena breaking. So veena is a tambura, is a Ravi Shankar and that thing. What's the name of that instrument that we listened to a lot in the 60s? Larry, you know what it is. Ravi Shankar played the veena. Okay, so anyway, like a stringed instrument, his strings have been cut. Sitar, right on. Yeah. So, like a sitar, whose strings have been cut, what sound does it make? Nothingness, right? So absolute is a metaphor to say, shut up, without being rude. And then, so body, speech, and the mind is to rest, relax. That means in an uncontrived, clear, empty space. You're not trying to force your mind to be one way or another. The mind's nature is empty. The Dharmakaya free from elaboration. So Dharmakaya is kind of a metaphor for emptiness. And that means, well, that's a big topic. And then the clear light aspect is Sambhogakaya. And unobstructed self-luminosity. And the radiation and reabsorption, the appearance of whatever arises, is Nirmanakaya. Awareness, I'm looking over, they actually have the Tibetan in here. Thank you very much to Christine Monson Christina Monson for making this beautiful text under Chögyam Rinpoche's guidance. Rigpa. Yeah, Rigpa. There's no term more whose translation is more controversial than this Rigpa. So Rigpa is the capacity that sees the non-dual nature of mind. So it's a vidya in Sanskrit. The word video comes from that, so it really means seeing or sensing, whatever, using, tuning into, like we're doing. So you're tuning into, and then they'll say awareness here as a way of putting that. And there's many other translation terms, but knowledge is, Rigpa is a common word for knowledge in Tibetan language. Knowingness, poised, you're, in a knowingness of this inseparable, all-pervasive state. Boy, I got in over my head here, didn't I? So, the sharpest people, she says, automatically understand Rigpa. All the appearances you see come to your mind, they already have the knowledge of that they're empty. And our perception is shaped, they're completely, how we perceive how we as an individual see all these different things, appearances, is diluted because it's coming through our human faculties. We're making concepts about it, we're wanting it, we're wanting to push it away, we want to bring it towards us. We bring in, it's like, starts with just eye faculty, and yeah, we see like a human, so we're not seeing like a Buddha because we're embodied in this human form automatically, or at least most of us. And then we start ascribing concepts, this is, oh, that flappy thing out there, it's a prayer flag. Oh, I wish I had a blue prayer flag instead of the red prayer flag I have out there. Why did I get a red, all this stuff instead of being naked awareness? So those people who can just snap right into that knowingness of the real nature of things are the highest faculty. The next highest faculty are the ones who need to rely on objects. So, for example, as we've been doing with shamatha meditation, you need a lot of instruction and teaching in order to break down our thinking, our ignorant thinking. That would be me. And it's to say, it doesn't talk about the lowest faculty people. I think maybe she assumes that anybody who has the merit, the positive trajectory in life, the goodness, accumulated goodness, isn't a person of lower capacity. I'm just injecting my assumption there. So, the view of empty is nothing more than this. Self-originating wisdom is this. You'll never find any higher secret of mind than this. Darn it, there's nothing else to look for. And your mind is actually the perfected Buddha. There's not searching somewhere for some other so-called Buddha. So there is, on one extreme in a society here, we don't believe in Buddha or awakening at all. We're not born that way. And then in Buddhist cultures, there can be a habit of going to the other extreme, and like a Buddha is a thing, it's like I'm Amitabha's in Amitabha's Pure Land in the Dewa Chen in the western direction. And that's better than our not believing anything, nihilism idea. You know, Tinley Norman Rinpoche stressed again and again, was a Buddha for our time, that having eternalist belief in, a Buddha out there somewhere smiling on us and we're going to go there, that's much more, and even believing in God and all those beliefs of other religions is more positive than being a nothingist. So that's good to know, isn't it? Okay. That's a lot of blah, blah, blah. So let's practice. I think let's do, you're grown-ups. I know all of you well enough. I'm sure if you're associated with the Tersar tradition, you're able to practice for 10 minutes. Even for the person I don't know yet. So let's practice for 10 whole minutes till 6:56. In that vein. And if you lose it, and you can bring your mind back, and you can't bring your mind back, you can visualize Sera Khandro as you saw her before and merge your mind again with her. And she'll bring you back. Okay, let's start. How'd it go? So some of us here have been focusing on shamatha a long time, and been gradually, as you may have noticed, Lori, moving towards a less fabricated, these words like unfabricated, uncontrived. And that means that it becomes more subtle. People are pinging me from all over the world. It's wonderful. It goes more, you get rails here, like shamatha, okay, I'm thinking, and you do whatever the remedial action is for thinking, and it feels like there's a structure and a container that's very clear about it. Once you learned how to do it, it's simple, as we can see, because it's become a national pastime. That's for a lot of people. And this formless kind of meditation that's based on this luminous presence is more subtle, isn't it? The boundary, when you stray from it, is unclear. You're going, wait a minute, am I thinking? And then as soon as you think, am I thinking, you're thinking, right? And so relaxing a lot really helps. Not criticizing yourself really helps. And merging your mind with whatever your image is of enlightenment, be it Sera Khandro or any figure, living or dead, who knows how to abide in this state. When I met Lama Tarchin Rinpoche, well, one of the time when I really decided to be a student, as I've said before, was he was teaching Palo Alto, and it was the way he moved his body. It was like, instead of going, or like we do with it was naturally, it was this sort of rounding, dance-like gentle motion. It wasn't, and another time when he was in a room and a window came down right behind him, the way they can sometime, it just like passed right through him. There wasn't any reaction at all. He wasn't, it wasn't like he was in a drugged state or some kind of out of it situation. He was very present. But anyway, so you can't fake that stuff, in other words. Okay. I had more to read, but it is that time. We're going to start in on with Dujim Rinpoche, Jigdal Yeshe Dorje, the greatest, and from our point of view in this Dujim Tersar, right, greatest figure of the 20th century, Tibetan Buddhism. But that doesn't mean I'm insulting somebody else's greatest figure of the 20th century. Maybe I can finish up with this. Let's go a little further, and this is Sera Khandro talking. I then resolved to exert myself in practice until my death, according to this Dakini's advice. From the age I was 14 till I was 18, to accomplish Dharma, I underwent many hardships with my body and speech. Even though I did not eat a morsel of food for almost a month, I did nothing that was not Dharma. From the time I was young, I placed my trust in the Lama, the three jewels, and the meditation deity. So no matter what unbearable suffering occurred, I considered it to be a result of my previously accumulated karma. So let's remember that right now. I felt that if I could not accomplish the sublime Dharma in my present life, then I would be without any means to repay the great kindness of all sentient beings in general, in particular that of my parents. Thinking like that, with great effort from the depth of my heart, I abandoned my homeland, which had become like a land of cannibals, and I was propelled by the force of my previous aspirations and karmic good fortune to the eastern land of Amdo Golok. That's a region. Because of my lowly status and state of poverty, I was reviled and abused by practically everyone. So although I had the capacity to reveal profound earth treasures, due to not having the appropriate companions, dharma holders, and the like, this didn't happen. When tormented by many negative conditions such as these, I offer the Gana Chakra to the mandala of the space activity dakinis and invoke them with this prayer. It's a long one. I think we'll stop there. So let's invoke this. So mentally invoke the space-dwelling dakinis to come into our lives and guide us, appear in our dreams, and make this life that, meaningful. Our parents did work so hard raising us, and we have this really rare opportunity to practice Dharma. So, and not just practice it, but get somewhere with it. All right, so let's listen to let's listen in the Dakini is like the mandala principle, the 5 elements as we experience them. So wind is Samayatara, for example, and you can hear her voice as the wind blows through the trees. And when you hear it, that wind blowing through the trees, you can say, Samayatara. Damsik Droma. This is Dakini talking. And when water flows, it's the water element. Mamaki. It's the Dakini talking. We can listen for the Dakini there. So tell me what you come up with next week, and let's, because I'm not a special practitioner. Maybe you are. Maybe you really get some insight. Okay, so let's dedicate the merit. By this merit may all obtain omniscience. May it defeat the enemy wrongdoing. From the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara, may we free all beings. Bye now. Thank you for dropping in, everyone. I'll see you next week.